What is going on, guys? Wally here with another Battlefield commentary, and this is a live commentary done via the stream, and I'll have to admit this is the second attempt I have done because the first attempt I got messed with pretty hard. Nobody cares. I got to give him a shout out right there. He basically threw me off by saying nobody can hear you in the stream, and I saw it and started laughing, and I had to restart. So the question that is imposed to me by the stream chat is, should MLG pick up Battlefield 4? Now, there's a lot of pros and cons with this certain topic, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to most likely laugh at the pros and agree with the cons. So just hear me out as I get through with this. I'm going to start with the cons first and foremost. Now, the cons are pretty simple. The idea is that individuals within Battlefield play a different game than the major FPS shooter that MLG currently supports, which is Call of Duty. So in Call of Duty, you have a fast-paced arena shooter. You have impressive individuals that have great characteristics in both social media and, of course, during tournaments. You've got a lot of personalities out there. You've got a lot of individuals supporting the scene in general, from the casual communities to the major MLG-esque communities. And, of course, a lot of the guys behind it are sponsors. We're talking Elgato, Astro, Scuff. And then, of course, they have dev support. Dev support is #1 thing that they have over Battlefield. So that is one of the current, I guess, dilemmas that faces Battlefield in terms of Call of Duty, and it's the only real game that we can kind of compare it to, because currently there are other games on the MLG scene, but the major one in terms of FPS on the consoles is Call of Duty. So the idea is that individuals within the scene, how could Battlefield ever get picked up by MLG? And the question really comes down to, why would it get picked up by MLG? And I'll lay it out pretty simply. The idea is that Battlefield is a different game. It's a team-based, cover-to-cover shooter in which you have to rely on your teammates more so than your own ability to win games, especially in the 5v5 game mode. Now, the biggest problem with this is that the 5v5 game mode is not played. It's played by maybe 2% of the entire community. On a rough average night, there's around maybe 70 to 80K individuals playing on all the consoles and the PC, maybe a little bit more in terms of if it's a Friday or Saturday night or a weekend, maybe up to 100K. But of that percentage, maybe 2,000 at the most at any given time are playing 5v5. And that is the biggest problem, is that 5v5 is the one game mode that would be supported by MLG because it's small. Sponsors can send out teams to certain events, and of course it's much easier to manage a 5s team than it is to manage a 32v team or a 10v10 team or something like that in that respect. Now, the one thing that gave Battlefield its big big push into the limelight was the $1.6 million tournament. Now, the $1.6 million tournament was announced back in BF3, in the initial release back in BF3, which I believe was back in 2009, I want to say. Maybe it was like 2010. I may not be accurate on those dates. But the idea is that Virgin Gaming and EA were getting together to put on a console-specific 12v12, 10v10 type of tournament, that the winner would take a part of a prize pool of about $1.6 million. They would flown out to the Virgin Islands, and they would play a tournament there on that ability. And that would be the coolest thing. So many people were excited about it. I remember when I was back on a team, I was playing for Iconic, and I was like, holy smokes, we may have a chance at winning this. And it was super, super exciting. And we held on to that for a long time, and unfortunately it never came. So the idea with that was that Battlefield was given this false sense of allurement where people came to the game, wanted to be a part of it, but there wasn't anything for it. Besides this quote-unquote mythical tournament that everyone was talking about, there wasn't anything else that Battlefield really had going for it. There weren't major supporters of the comp scene. There weren't major tournaments going on. Game Battles had a faltering ladder, to say the least, and Frag Nation has always been sort of a joke in the competitive community, although there are a lot of people playing on it. And if you play on Frag Nation, I apologize. I don't think you're a joke, but it's just that kind of mindset has been treated to it. But it wasn't really largely supported. It wasn't picked up by major companies. Nothing happened. So that whole $1.6 million thing was just kind of a false sense of entitlement that a lot of people felt. Now, we carried that over to BF4, and BF4 is a much better game than BF3. It wasn't at launch, but it is now. So the idea with BF4 is that they fixed a lot of the nuances and problems in BF3, mainly the head glitching nonsense, and of course a few of the problems in terms of Battlefield being sort of wonky on hit detection. And of course, that's a very debatable subject entirely, but all in all, I would say that BF4 is definitely more competitive than BF3. There's been more tournaments for it, there's been more support for it, and of course, there's still a lot of people that continue to play Battlefield 4. Now, the biggest problem with bringing on Battlefield 4 by MLG, or anything being picked up by MLG, is the very fact that the scene in Battlefield does not support the competitive scene. So what I'm talking is the casual scene does not support the non-casual scene, or the competitive scene, or the try-hard scene, or the shit bucket scene, whatever you want to call it. They are not supported by the general casual players. There's some individuals that come in and want to watch matches, either being live casted or anything like that. But generally, if you post on the forums or talk about it to any of your buddies that play Battlefield, they'll laugh at you. They'll think it's a joke because, in all honesty, it is kind of a joke. There's a lot of teams out there that treat it like a joke. And of course, unfortunately, that correlates to it being itself a very bad end of a joke. So the idea with it is that the scene itself isn't supported by the community. The casual community needs to get behind it and support it. The second thing really is the scene is not large enough. The idea is that the scene is, if you have 2% of your people playing competitive game modes, that's not large enough for anyone, especially sponsors, to come in there and throw down hundreds of thousands of dollars on a LAN event, or even $10,000 or plus on a LAN event for just Battlefield. And a lot of people don't understand that. Finally, the other two reasons are the comp teams. Unfortunately, a lot of the comp teams are kind of immature and fickle. And while this isn't a huge problem, it is part of the problem, and it needs to be fixed. So the idea maybe with Hardline, and from what I've heard about Hardline, is that there is going to be some legitimate dev support for Battlefield Hardline, and that's fantastic. Visceral is taking a different approach than DICE, so that it is going to be a very good mindset. The problem is still the cons lay out there, and there's a lot of problems with individuals thinking that the consumer faith has been removed from Battlefield because of Battlefield's forward launch, and of course the comp scene is still too small. Hopefully with Hardline we see Battlefield being taken a little bit more seriously, but currently the cons outweigh the pros. The only pros evidently are the fact that Call of Duty is different than Battlefield, and Battlefield is different than Call of Duty. That is not a good enough pro, in my opinion, to have it supported and have teams fly out to events or anything like that. Of course, the other pro is the very fact that it is Battlefield. It's a different game. It looks cool. It feels fun. The community behind it, especially the community behind it, is fantastic. The individuals that play comp love it, and they're very fanatical to a fault, I'd say, but they're good people. The final thing is with the cons. Like I said, there's a lot of cons here. The scene isn't large enough. It isn't dev supported, which could change with Hardline. Of course, the casual community doesn't take comp seriously, which is a very serious problem. And finally, comp teams are a bit of the problem in terms of immaturity and the nonsense that they create and drive amongst each other. Hopefully, with Battlefield Hardline, we'll see a difference in this. Battlefield Hardline is slated to release in 2015, so it should be seeing some pretty soon, actually. We're almost out of 2014. We're about halfway through. We got a little bit more, 4 months more to go, and we'll be able to see Battlefield Hardline, I'd say probably in February, maybe March. But that has been a live commentary via the stream. I appreciate everyone in the stream getting in here. If you guys haven't seen the stream yet, the stream has changed slightly, and I want you guys to be a part of it. And of course, you guys are awesome. I love you all very much. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. And as always, you guys are great. Thank you for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.